This is my first math lecture. I'm giving another one on Thursday about triangles, and who knows, maybe I'll give more math lectures. I'm never sure if math's going to be a popular topic or an unpopular one. It can go either way for sure. So far, I would say it's a medium popular one, not too bad. Exponential growth, obviously, people are talking about exponential growth in general now because of the COVID situation, and we're going to talk about that too. So let me get into the presentation here, share my old screen. Where's that window? I believe it's here. Okay. Can someone do me a favor? Could you just confirm that you can see and hear me and that you can see the presentation? And this is me being a little bit paranoid, but if you click on the more option on the window, there's a, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, come on. Oh, good Lord. Ugh, hold on, guys. There we go. Okay, good. Got a blinking window. All good. Thanks, Donna. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here also. Okay, good. So here we go. The title of this presentation is Exponential Growth Can Kill You. It can also make you rich. It also can make you rich. Let's do it. So this is a quote I saw this morning. So I was putting together my presentation and I saw this, and I'll read it first, and then I'll tell you how it made me feel. So that guy, that handsome looking devil there, is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He is not a mathematician by profession. He's not even really an amateur mathematician, but this is what he said about COVID. The vast, vast majority of people are testing negative for this. We're going to think about that quote, and we're going to think about how stupid it is. I hate to give it away. I'm not talking. I sincerely refuse to talk about this guy's party affiliation. Like I actually feel strongly about that, because I'm not going to cast anybody's party. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus here, basically. But that is a patently stupid thing to say. He also was gave that quote at, ready for this, I missed this the first time I read it, at one of the state's 3 coronavirus test sites. Now, if you think about the state of Florida and how it's shaped and how big it is, the idea that there would be 3 test sites is absurd. I mean, that's nothing. That's not enough. Anyway, he basically doesn't think they need to have more coronavirus test sites, and that we all should just go about our business and go to the beach. And that's because he doesn't understand exponential growth. But we'll save that, although I've pretty much blown the surprise already. The other thing I want to talk about is this quote. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. If you see that quote in the wild, it'll often be attributed to Albert Einstein. It is not Albert Einstein. He did not say that, but there's a clue in the fact that people say that Albert Einstein said it, because it's basically evidence that people think it's really, really smart. And it is really, really smart. And compound interest is this brilliant factor that can impact your life in really positive ways if you know how to use it. And that's what we're going to get to at the end of this. By the way, I didn't give this sort of like overall intro. I'll just give it really, really quickly now. I'm keeping these lectures super short. It's like 15 or 20 minutes. Maybe we'll have time for some questions here today too. Yesterday, I did not keep a clock, and afterwards I was like, oh, it's been 24 minutes. So I'm going to avoid that temptation to screw it up and go long, because I do get a little long-winded. But anyway, short and sweet. We're going to talk about Ron DeSantis, I think his name is, and then we're also, and I hope he's not related to the DeSantis family that I know, and if he is, I apologize for the mean things I'm going to say about your uncle. And then we're going to talk about the value of compound interest as well. And that should take us to 15 minutes, but we'll see. We'll see if I tell stories like I did yesterday. Okay, so the first story I'm going to tell, and this one's actually planned, not me flying off the cuff, is about the inventor of chess. And this is an old story that almost certainly is not true, but it still sounds the bell, rings the bell in terms of how powerful exponential growth is. And it's yet another story. All the stories about exponential growth talk about how the person who knows about exponential growth is the smart one, and the person who didn't is a boob. And that's just how it works. And here's the story. So this guy invents chess, and he takes it to the emperor of China, and he says, check it out. You got these castle pieces, you got these, you got the queen, you got the king, you got these horses called the knights, blah, blah, blah. And they move in these different ways. It's a really fun strategic game. And I think you're really going to love it, Emperor. And the Emperor plays it for a while. And he's like, indeed, I love this. The inventor probably lets him win a couple because the inventor is really smart again. And the Emperor says, I want to reward you. I mean, I must pay you for this game. And the inventor of chess says, I mean, thank you so much. I mean, I really don't need much. I just need, food to feed my family. So how about we do it this way? How about on the first square of the chessboard, you put down 1 grain of rice. So on day 1, I get 1 grain. On the second day, I'll come back and you'll double that amount. So there was 1 grain on the first square. Now give me 2 grains. I'll now have a total of 3 grains of rice. Thank you so much. Day 3 will double that amount. So now there's 4 grains on day 3 for a total of 7 grains. And the Emperor's like trying to kind of like keep his laughter inside him because he's just like, this is a terrible plan. And obviously I'm going to go and say yes to this. On day 4, I'll get 8 grains for a total of 15 grains. And the Emperor's like, I got it. Totally. Yeah, I got it. So great. Totally. Done deal. Shakes hands. And the mathematician, actually, the inventor of chess, who also is a mathematician, obviously. It's like, I just want to make sure. I want to make sure that you really, really want this deal. And the Emperor's like, I really want the deal. It's like, you really want it? He's like, I really want it. So they shake hands, they make the deal. And then things get hairy for the Emperor. They get a little wild. The rice grains start building up. And we eventually end up writing a formula for how many grains of rice you will have on a given day. And the formula is 2 to the n being the number of days that you come to the castle to get your rice. And it's 2 to the n minus 1. That's how that works out. You can see that you could do that with, say, day 4. 2 to the 4th is 16, minus 1 is 15. That's how we got to the 15 grains in total. Now, how many grains of rice will the inventor of chess have earned by the 64th day, which is the last square on the chessboard? The answer is 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709 million, 551,615 grains of rice. That's his total take in those 64 days. And the bad news is he never made it to the 64th day because the Emperor saw what was happening. And the Emperor had him killed because that was strictly necessary, because otherwise he would have bankrupted the Chinese empire for the foreseeable future. That amount of rice, by the way, I looked this up because I was curious about this and did a little bit of math here. That amount of rice is not just more rice than the entire world grows in a year. That's more rice than the world grows in a millennium. So that's kind of fun, right? So yeah, that's the power of exponential growth. If you can double it every day, that's a really strong rate of return. That's a 100% rate of return, and we're going to talk about that too. If you can get a 100% rate of return, take it, because you'll be really happy with the results. Okay, so this is the scary part, because I decided at the last minute. I had the formula written out typed out, and then I decided, it's going to look better if I write it out. So now this is the scary part, because now I have to write it. So these are the formula for the various ways we can compute interest. I'm going to go with, let's go with orange. That's kind of my favorite color here. This is the amount you earn at a simple interest rate. So A is the amount you get after you've made your investment. Okay. P is the amount you start with. It's short for principal, you know what I mean? Principal as in the amount you start with, the principal amount. We're going to multiply the principal by first 1. The 1 is returning your money. Eventually I'm going to give some examples, and we're going to invest $100. And that when I multiply it by 1, I'm basically saying you get your $100 back. In addition to that $100 that you get back, you also get your rate of return. That's R, supposed to be an R. See, like I told you, this is the scary part because my handwriting is so bad. And that's a consequence of me not really listening in first grade, because I had a computer already, and I literally typed up all my reports ever since that was 1985. Sorry, this is me screwing around. I'm checking my clock. It's 5:39. I'm doing fine. I had a computer in kindergarten because my mom was a teacher, and she was all over that stuff. And I was in the van. We took a van to school, whatever, and that's not important at all. And I said to this one girl on the van, I said, when I get home from school, I'm going to play on the computer. And she said, computer, what's that? So that's the time frame we're talking about. Okay, here's the end of the formula. T is T for time. I like that all these letters actually stand for something. That's nice and convenient. We're going to multiply the principal by the 1. We're going to add on the amount that we're getting. So if it's an 8% interest rate, that R is going to be 0.08. We're converting the percent to a decimal because that's how we compute with them. I can do another lecture on percent, but that's not for today. I'm going to raise that to this exponent t. So basically, I'm going to find the 8% increase t times. If I do it one time, no wow factor. If I do it 50 times, there will be a wow factor because I'm going to get that 8% interest rate each time for every single iteration. And I'm going to get 8% on last year's 8%. And then in year 3, I'm going to get 8% on last year's, and the year before is 8%. So it adds up. It's very cumulative. That's the simple interest formula. Let's be brutal and make me write up a couple more formulas that are more complicated. This is when you compound it n times per year. And I'm going to write the formula out as efficiently as I possibly can, which is not super efficiently. Actually, my handwriting, I shouldn't say this out loud, is pretty good right now. You know what I mean? You have good days and bad days, and like having a pretty good day. Okay, very similar formula. There's that R, that rate of return, and then I'm dividing that by n, the number of times it's compounded each year within the year. And then I'm raising it to the nt power. So the way this formula is working is it's kind of interesting. I'm not going to derive this thing fully or anything like that, but I can explain what's happening basically. I guess it's kind of deriving it. But again, multiplying the principal by the 1, which is getting it back. The rate of return, I'm dividing by the number of times that I actually am taking it. So suppose that I'm, that's not a very good n. Let's undo that. Suppose that I'm compounding it on a daily basis. That would be 365 times, in general per year. And this year is 366, but 365 for the most part every single year. I'm dividing that rate by 365, which means that the rate of return is much, much, much smaller within the parentheses, but I'm raising it to that power. I'm raising it 365 times more often. And what that's essentially doing is giving me my rate of return on a daily basis. So I'm going to get my 8% return split into 365 parts, but I'm going to get it today, and then I'm going to get it tomorrow, and I'm going to get it the next day. And in fact, by the end of the year, I'll be making more per day than I was making at the beginning of the year. In fact, every single day I'll make more than I did the previous day because I'm getting the benefit of earning interest on my interest. That's the value of compound interest. Okay. Last one. This one's actually pretty easy. If you take that formula and you run and you find the limit as n approaches infinity. So basically, like, let's compound it all the time, instantaneously, right? Not on a daily basis, but on an infinitely frequent basis. There's a limit to it, and the limit is e. E is one of these like 5 most important numbers in math. E and pi and 1 and 0 and I. These are like the 5 ones. They make up Euler's formula, Euler's theorem. E to the I pi plus 1 equals 0. And it's just this like incredible equation. It's like, wow, those 5 numbers go together somehow, and they do. But anyway, it's a really cool number. And it's the limit as this formula, the formula above, as n approaches infinity. And it simplifies the formula to principal times E, which is like 2.7818, etc. P times E raised to the RT power. I'm not going to use that one today. I'm going to use the compound interest formula when we get to that, which I will momentarily. So those are the formulas. I think we're back to our guy. I think we're back to our Florida guy on the next slide. Let's see. There he is. Okay, cool. So I had that reaction. I had that honest reaction to this guy this morning. Like, you got to be effing kidding me when he said that, because it's like just patently, it's so stupid. Let's get into why though. Oh man, now I'm feeling bad. I have a family called DeSantis, and like, did they look like this guy? I'm really worried I'm insulting someone. I don't mean to be. I really don't mean to be. I mean to be insulting this guy. You know what I mean? This guy, Ron DeSantis, because he deserves it. Okay. He said there really aren't that many cases, right? That's literally the exact equivalent of looking at the fifth square on the chessboard and saying there really aren't that many grains of rice. That is the mathematical equivalent, because it basically implies that you don't know what you're talking about. If you don't agree that the virus is spreading by exponential, through exponential growth, you could say that, and you should say that, because that's an actual, and you're wrong, but that would be a substantive point of disagreement. But to say that there aren't that many cases is to basically announce that you're ignorant. It literally is. It literally is saying, I don't get this. I don't understand math. It's as simple as that. So anyway, I had that reaction, and then I found this story later on in the day, that another Florida legislator, and this guy's the governor, but anyway, this is the comment that someone had to say about him, and they're right. This is the dumbest fill in the blank that a governor of a state could say, because he's just so that wrong. Anyway, the illness is spreading. It's spreading exponentially. We're trying to put a cap on it by limiting the amount of exposure, which is actually, this is interesting. This is me long. What that's doing is that's not putting you can't cap the rate. The disease decides the rate of reproduction. You can't cap the time, because we're just in the amount of time that we have. And in some ways, we're kind of dragging out the time a little bit. But what you're really capping is the principal investment. You're basically saying, let's not make 330 million people eligible for this illness. Let's make 10 million eligible, or 1 million, or 0, right? If you shrink the principal, there is much less room for reproduction. That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that until just now. Okay, now that's how compound interest works against you and tries to kill you. This is how compound interest works for you. So suppose we're going to do two hypothetical situations. Suppose on your 18th birthday, you are given $100 and you invest it, because that's the thing you should do. You should totally invest it, and I'll show you why in a second. You're going to make 5% interest over the course of your lifetime. That's a modest return. It's very doable. It's reasonable. If you put it in a checking account, you're not going to get 5% interest, but there are other ways to invest to get 5% fairly predictably. So in year one, after 1 year, you'd have $105.12. We're compounding it daily. So if it was compounded annually, you'd have $105, but you get $105.12, and you'd be pretty pissed at me, because you'd be like, I was told this money was going to take off, and I would say, wait, just bide your time. You'd be like, super pissed at me, and I would then hide from you and hope that you couldn't find me for another 50 years, because then in 50 years you're going to be super psyched about it. But we'll see that. Year two, you'd have $110.52. So now you made your $5 plus an extra 40 cents, because you're making interest on your interest, which is fun. Year three, 116.18. Year 10, 164.87. If you were making just 5% on $100, you'd be at 150, but you made an extra 14.87. Doesn't seem like that much yet. It's going to add up. Year 20, now you're going to have that's the same amount. You have not invested any more money. Now you're at 271.81. So your $100 has been multiplied by 2.7 thus far, with you doing basically nothing but sitting back. Year 40, it's now at $738.80. And then I skipped to year 62. This is if you got the money on your 18th birthday. Suppose you waited till your 80th birthday to withdraw it. Be like, what have I made? And the answer is you would now have $2,219.32. That number would be affected by inflation. If inflation's going up at a rate of 3.2% or whatever it is, something about that, then it wouldn't literally be worth 22 times $100, but it's going to be worth a lot more than the $100 would have been if you held on to it, or if you even invested it at the rate of inflation, it would be worth the equivalent of $100. This is going to be a multiple of $100, and a significant multiple, because right now this is literally 22 times what it was. So this next slide, let's up the rate of return. Suppose you get that $100 and you're going to get an 8% rate of return, and the interest is still going to be compounded daily. This table is not as efficient and effective. I fixed the other one at the last second. Didn't have time to fix this one. So that's the world we're living in today. So you're basically going to see the first column and the second column appear at the same time, which is not ideal. Anyway, year 0, you have $100. Just ignore the right-hand column for now. I'll probably spoil it at some point. In fact, you know what? Let me just show you all the numbers, and then we'll get to it. Okay. So here's the reveal. We won't do it step by step. Year 0, you have $100. That's when you get started. Year 1, you have $108.32. And again, you're not that stoked about it. By year 10, you're at $222.53. By year 50, you're at $5,457.42. That's on $100 invested. That's a 54 multiple rate of return. But think about this, between 50 and 62, look what happens. Now you get $14,251.63 on your $100 investment at a rate of return of 8%, which is not outrageous at all. That's not that crazy. And if you want, we could talk about investment strategies at some point, because I know ones, and literally what's funny is I'm about to sound like some weird money person, which I'm not. I am a math person, and I know how simple the math is and how simply it works, but like there are ways to get 10% rate of return. It doesn't take that much work, but it takes a little bit of work and a little bit of planning and saving. But there's no magic here. In fact, I'm going to show you what the magic is on the next slide. But anyway, long story short, I don't want to be some like money advisor. That's just not my role in general. But if you look at these numbers, you might think I should be, because between year 50 and year 62, we went from a 54 times rate of return to a 142 times rate of return. And we ended up with $14,000 on an investment of $100. Now imagine you invested $1,000. Imagine you invested $100 every single year. It's incredible what happens to that money. So last slide is my last kind of piece of advice. So there's 2 factors, and really it's 3 factors now that we've started thinking about, secluding ourselves and shrinking the principal, right? Like I was just saying, if you invest $1,000, you're going to make more than you did with $100 by a factor of 10. Time and rate of return. These are the things that, assuming we have a certain starting amount, right? And you've got to save to get to that starting amount, but assuming you have that amount, you can kind of control the rate of return, not directly, indirectly, by choosing where you want to invest your money. So there are safe investments like bonds. There are wilder, there are like more intense investments like index funds, where you're investing in a broad variety of stocks. And then there are wilder and crazier investments, getting into a startup or something like that, where you basically say like, hey, I'm putting this money in, I might lose it all. I might make a rate, I might multiply my money by 100 or something like that. The less safe the investment, the more money you stand to potentially make. So rate of return you can control indirectly, right? You can kind of put your money in like a broad category and then hope the category does as well as you want it to. You can control time, not directly, but we're all participating in this time-space continuum in a way where we don't get to you don't get to dictate how it goes, but you can wait. That's what I mean by you can control time, is you can wait. Time flattens out momentary spikes in a curve. And if you look at every stock market curve, it goes up. That's how they work over time. If you stretch them out and if you ignore the spikes, and not ignore the spikes, actually take the spikes into account, but just look at year 0 and year 40 and what happened. It went up. The longer you wait, the more money you will make. That's a fact. And the lesson is basically, whenever you invest, wherever you invest, do it early. The earlier you do it, the more times the higher the exponent will be that you raise it to. So that is how exponential growth can kill you and can also make you rich. I recommend the latter. Let's all stay alive for as long as we can. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for the next lecture. Tomorrow is it punctuation? I can't remember. I should have looked this up before I came in. But I'll find out tomorrow morning, and I'll see all y'all at 5:30 p.m. And thank you guys for being here tonight. Any questions before we go, or thoughts in the chat window? I'll leave that open for a second. My pleasure. Yeah, it's fun to do this stuff. Actually, it gets my heart racing just the tiniest little bit to have to perform, but it's definitely fun for me. So thank you guys for being here. Awesome. Yay. Thank you. Hasta mañana, 5:30 p.m. Let's do it. Thanks, Antoine. Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, thanks, Eli. Cool. You guys rock. I'll see you tomorrow.